Okay guys, what's going on? So as the title suggests, this is going to be one epic story, and to follow an epic story, I figure start off with the new introduction. I hope you guys had liked it. Give me a bit of feedback. And I want to talk about the gameplay for all of about a minute here. This is a buddy of mine called DSX Tezon. He is a beast at this game, clearly. This is over 100 kill game. He's playing a little bit of Demolition, I think, and I've seen this like 3 or 4 times now, and I mean, rape sauce. There's nothing else to say. He kicks ass. I don't think there's too much to learn from this, though, because I think the majority of us couldn't pull in a game score like this, and run around for a lot of it. I mean, he camps a little bit in head glitches where he needs to, but I mean, I tell you, it's skill, clearly. I mean, you can see him running around right now. So just sit back, enjoy. And the main point of this is, here's another verbal story for you. So, I got a little bit of bad news, guys. My grandfather passed away last Friday. It's been a tough couple of days for me, and I say that, but I don't really want sympathy. I mean, leave me a message and say, hey, sorry for your loss. But the thing is, he's a grandpa. He lived a long and full life, and that's what this story's about. And he had a great life, and I'm kind of here to brag a little bit about him, and that's kind of maybe my way of dealing with this situation. But I wanted to bring a little bit of what he brought to my life to you guys, so you understand where I'm coming from and why my grandfather is the coolest. And I'm sure everyone thinks that their grandfather's the coolest, but trust me, my grandfather's the coolest. Now, I'm joking with you, but you get my point. It's fun to take some time and reminisce about the times and the life that he had and the way he lived his life that made yours so special. So my grandfather was the head of the family, and when I say sort of the patriarch, the person that is in control of everything, there's no way to understate that. He had 10 children. 10 children. So basically my grandmother was pregnant from, I think it was 18 through to like 36, 37, something like that. There was a couple of years there where she wasn't pregnant and they had twins one time, and you're not pregnant for 10 years straight, but I tell you, it was the running joke in our family was always, Tom, Cheryl, Jim, what's your name, kid? And that was kind of always the joke with my aunts and uncles. So my aunts and uncles always, they all went off and got married, and they've all had kids. So I think at last count, I'm pretty sure it was 24 cousins. It may be 25, I'm not 100%. And then my grandfather and my grandmother still has 6, I want to say, great-grandchildren. So yeah, to say that the verbal family is big is the understatement of the year. It's unreal how large our family is. But I love them all, and we have a great time with them. So a little bit of background on my grandfather. He, I think he had his first kid at age 18. He joined the Navy because, what else are you going to do? He jumped into the Korean War and worked on a U.S. naval aircraft carrier. I think he was an engineer on different types of aircraft that would, go from the aircraft carrier, and that's kind of what his role was. From that, he moved over and he transitioned to be part of sort of the engineering squad that helped put some of our first satellites into orbit. So the majority of people know Sputnik and the Russians' attempts to get satellites into orbit, and the Americans' version of that were the Explorer series. Explorer 1, I think, went off in, I want to say 58. And I don't think he was there from the very beginning, but I think he came into it shortly after that, like very early 60s. And was helping, get satellites further into space and last longer, to stay into geosynchronous orbit. And I mean, to say that my grandfather was a smart guy, it kind of sounds like bragging, but I mean, if you take a step back and think about that for a second, he was involved in putting satellites into space before anyone thought that could be possible, like even thinking that way. Like they were pioneering this field, basically. And he did it really well. So, I mean, the guy really was ridiculously smart. Part of that, as we watched the ladder fail from DSX, probably the only time I was going to do something wrong in this entire match. Part of that, time spent, putting rockets into space and learning, about well, everything to do with that sort of part of the industry. The CIA approached him and asked him, I think it was actually 2 different times, 2 different points that they tried to get him to be a counter spy. And basically what that was is just feed information out. There was certain secure ways to feed information out, and part of what he did was being asked to do was just to feed information out without the security protocol that they would normally do, and have that information be erroneous. And I actually have to go ask my aunts and uncles about this, but because I know that he declined it, and I forget the exact reason. I'm pretty sure it was basically the case of I have 6 or 7 kids, and this doesn't sound safe to me, so I'm not being a jackass. So thank you to him for that. But the basic concept is he was contacted by the CIA to basically spy against the Russians during the Cold War. So I kind of, whenever I see those, Jason Bourne's type movies or anything where it's sort of spies and Russians and all that Cold War bullshit, or the old James Bonds, like when you see Roger Moore or something, I can't help but kind of smile and be like, wow, this is the Hollywood version, and my grandfather lived the real version, like the boring, monotonous, just give information type stuff, which isn't that exciting, but it's still pretty cool that he was feeding weird information to the Russians. So moving on from that, he actually ended up out of that getting a job in the Mercury and Gemini programs, rockets that would get a little bit sort of more advanced, and as they got more advanced, he worked in getting on those projects. And I'm not 100%, but I'm pretty sure that was trying to get rockets and satellites even further and further out of our solar system. Like could we get something to Saturn? Could we get it? How far out can we get, and what information can we glean about? One of the first things the Explorer series aircraft or satellites found out was the Van Allen radiation belt that we didn't know existed then, and information like that helps us know so much more about our surroundings and our universe and the way that Earth as a planet plays a big part of that. And then moving on from that, he actually was very influential in sort of setting up, and that was just kind of at the end of his career, the Hubble telescope, and coming up, pioneering the idea behind what we would get out of that as a civilization, and why our government should fund this and stuff like that. And I don't think he was there to the end and seeing Hubble go up. Pretty sure that was in the 80s at some point. I think he would have been retired at that point, but he was definitely, like, I remember talking about it. I remember being a young kid talking about, a satellite that could see further into space than forever, and mom and dad saying, hey, that's the Hubble, that's the one your grandpa started off the idea for. So that was pretty cool. And then he got a job out of like right at the end of his career. Actually, no, I lie. It was more sort of in the middle of his career. There was a part particularly about creating computers, and he actually sold one of the very first computer. And we think of computer, and you think of something you put on your desktop. And at that point in time, I think it was engineering somewhere in the mid-70s. So you're talking a computer being the size of a freaking warehouse, and that was what a computer was at that point. And you're talking punch cards and those type of things of how how large a computer was. And I mean like full-on holes in paper, and that's how this computer understood what it should be doing. And you're talking less computer power than the average toaster has at this point, but back then they were that was the cutting edge of the field. And there's even a video of my grandfather trying to sell someone, I forget exactly who, on the power of this computer and what it could do for a corporation in terms of financial accounting and automating these processes that right now were being done by people with abacuses and tallying numbers and keeping detailed spreadsheets by hand. I mean, none of this Excel bullshit. I mean, full on writing in a number into a square type thing. So that was pretty crazy. I think I'm pretty sure there's even a video of my grandfather trying to pitch, like IBM or something, on the reason to have this particular punch card type style computer and what it would bring to them and how much it cost and all the rest of it. So that's kind of how crazy my grandfather was. He lived a kind of varied and interesting life, and as you guys have known, I've said before, my parents are flight attendants, and it led to some of the benefits with being a flight attendant is you get to have a decent discount when you fly around the world. And that was one of the things that my dad was able to give him, and it's kind of one of the things I'm really grateful of at this point in my life, that I have pictures of my grandfather all over the world. Like, you want to see a picture of my grandfather at Angkor Wat? He was there. He's been to the Great Wall. He's been to the pyramids. He's been to Sweden. He's been everywhere. I mean, I remember I was sitting on a side street with him in Rio de Janeiro with my mom. My mom was in at H. Stearns, which is like the big jewelry place down there. I don't even know what to compare it to, but like the big jewelry place of Brazil is a place called H. Stearns, and my grandfather got robbed by this little street urchin. He went to go put his hand into his pocket and grab his wallet, and there was another hand in there with it. Like there was a hand trying to steal his wallet at the same time. And my grandfather pulls on, "Get out of here!" and like kicks the kid or whatever. So that was one of the cool stories of my grandfather. Another thing I wanted to mention was his finger jitsu. I don't know if you guys have this, but there's this concept called old man strength, and my grandfather definitely had it. It's that concept that like the older a man gets, sort of when he gets into his 50s and 60s and 70s, you would expect him to have less dexterity and power in his fingers or in his arms, and it's complete opposite. Like my grandfather was just a beast. I remember 18, 19, 20. 21, when you're meant to be in the height of your physical performance. There's no way I could, we tried to play this thing called finger jitsu, where we would just sort of tackle each other with fingers, he would kick the crap out of me every time. Like, and that is old man strength. I remember that being my first introduction to old man strength, and holy good God, he was good at it, which kind of scared the shit out of me. But I'll miss his finger jitsu. I'll miss the good chats that we used to have together. He was a great golfer, but he was also a great listener. He was very calm about sort of his nature. I think to rule a family of 10 kids, you have to have some type of, power of strength of personality, obviously, because you got to lay down the law. But the other side of that would be his intense desire to listen to you and hear what your side of the story was and what you were thinking. And I'll miss that in conversations, because I feel like that's one thing that is probably missing a little bit from the world right now. Being able to take a step back and say, I wonder what he was, I may not agree with him, but I wonder what he was thinking, and how this other person that's talking to me is seeing the world, and what I'm missing out of what he has to say to me. And I think that's really important, especially in our community. So if I can leave you with anything, it's something that Long Hauler actually was trying to say in one of his videos. I'll link it in the video here, because I think it's a really important part, and it's something that I definitely learned from my grandfather. But be open. Be open 100% of the time. Be open to listening to someone else's point of view and what they have to bring to your situation. And don't just automatically say, you're a camper, you suck ass. Maybe they've got a point of view that you could benefit from. So, have a little bit of sympathy for me and give me one of those, I hope you're doing okay, because I am. I really am, and it's, it was expected. But, I hope I gave you a flavor for his life and the great things he brought to mine, because I'll miss him, but I enjoyed every second I got with him. And look at that, 135 to 3. 135 kills to 3 deaths. This guy's a beast. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed my commentary, guys. I will talk to you all soon. Take it easy.